What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. In a time when Russia's military campaign in Ukraine continues to erode public confidence, the government's approach to recruitment has grown both desperate and disturbing. You have probably already heard about the increased signing bonuses, monthly salaries, and generous promises, compensating for staggering casualty rates and the reluctance of citizens to enlist. But you might also know that a lot of these payments never reach the pockets of soldiers and their families. Because every contract has more and more small print, which distinguishes who qualifies to receive the money and who doesn't. Spoiler alert, vast majority of Russian soldiers do not qualify. Or at least they can get a mere 10% of promised pay. But recently, even more horrible recruitment techniques started to happen. It is when men are literally caught on the streets and forced to enlist, either through a deceive or a blackmail. And sure, it happened in the past as well, but now, it seems, the government stopped caring at all. They just do it and they don't hide it even anymore. They've been testing the patience of Russian people and the boundaries what they can and cannot do, and it looks like that they were able to push them even further. So today, let's explore how the new government's strategy exploits financial hardships, preys on social inequalities, glorifies the conflict as a romanticized adventure, and, in the end, fails to deliver anything but misery to those who dare to enlist. In the early stages of the special military operation, the Kremlin relied on mobilizing those who were the poorest, particularly men from remote regions and less developed communities. You might even remember statements from some of the propagandists, like Margarita Simonyan, who said that we should detonate a nuke on top of Siberia, just to show off the power of a nuclear arsenal to the West. You might think that Siberia is uninhabited, because it is so cold and no person in their right mind would prefer to live there. But what if I told you, Siberia as a whole is home to approximately 37 million Russians. Only 7 countries on the entire European continent surpass Siberia in population. And suddenly, the desire to use nuclear weapon in this region just to demonstrate it as expensive and very deadly fireworks, it started to feel infuriating, especially if you live there. And at the same time, it shows the true attitude of the regime towards its people. They could not care less about these filthy peasants, because that's exactly what they see them as. Even the Ministry of Internal Affairs did not find the words about eliminating 20% of Russia's population just for fun, literally, as extremists. But just a reminder, you can still go to jail in Russia for saying that special military operation is actually a war. But so yeah, as the war drags on and casualties mount, the old draft methods of targeting the poorest men from distant regions begins to lose its appeal. And also the number of men in these regions decrease to critical levels. So they simply could not steal any more men without severely affecting these local economies and future demographics. Also, recruiting another wave of reluctant soldiers through open mobilization would risk public outrage and dangerous political fallout. Instead, the authorities choose to raise contract signing bonuses to extraordinary levels. Today they have reached sums unimaginable a few years prior, pitched as once-in-a-lifetime opportunities, almost around $40,000 just as a sign-up bonuses. Put your signature here and the money will be in your account within a week. That's the promise at least. But one thing changed, however. The official narrative no longer revolves around noble national defense or patriotic ideals. Instead, advertisements now suggest that a military contract is a golden ticket out of debt, a direct pathway to personal wealth, even a means of achieving long-delayed ambitions. These ads no longer speak of slogans about protecting Russia from mythical threats. They barely mention an enemy at all. Instead, the theme of material prosperity and adventure is front and center, as though enlisting were some form of high-stakes entrepreneurship. The message is blunt: if you join the fight, you will secure a future once out of reach. Even the posters themselves, which were full of text at first, now just put a number, whatever it may be, 3 or 4 million rubles, in big bright font, because apparently this is now the main reason to fight for. Next, let's talk about the social divide and selective targeting in more details, but first, let me share with you an amazing offer from my favorite sponsor and partner of this channel, Exter. They have been a huge support for my channel, so please guys take a look what they have to offer. Christmas and New Year is coming, but you still don't have a present for your loved ones. Or maybe you're looking to buy something for a person who already has everything. That's right, I'm talking about you. Let me present you the incredible slim wallets from Exter, made either out of space-grade aluminum or high-quality vachetta leather. And if you are afraid to touch it, just how precious the leather is, don't worry. They only get better with time. The more you use it, the better it becomes. There are even add-ons that you can use to modify your Exter wallets, such as for example this cash clip back plate, which used to replace the regular strap and, well, there you go, now you can even carry bills with you. These wallets are not just for carrying around your credit cards. This is a perfect modification if you still use actual money a lot. And here, for example, is a rare footage of me in the wild, not wearing my yellow hoodie, and taking my credit card out of one of Exter wallets to pay in the store. Two things happened while recording. First, I was extremely ashamed to ask to record in public place. Yes, people behind me were looking at me. And second, after we finished recording, the cashier asked me what kind of wallet was it. Because it was the first time ever she saw anything like it. She did not even know it was a wallet at first, until I pressed the button and car ejected all at once with this satisfying sound. Luckily, I was able to get another extremely good deal for you guys. Currently, Exter runs a Christmas promotion that gives you up to 50% discount. And by using my link down below and applying code DUDE during checkout, you will get an additional discount on top what you see online. There is also a free gift if your order reaches $100. But please hurry up, the winter holidays are less than 2 weeks away, so go ahead and order today so your order arrives on time for the celebrations. Thank you so much Exter for continued support for my channel and once again sponsoring this video. And now let's get back to the program. Let's continue. We're talking about the social divide and selective targeting. To understand why promises of generational, what it seems, wealth resonate with some citizens, we must examine the persistent social inequalities that have characterized Russian life for decades. Throughout the post-Soviet period, anyone born far from Moscow or St. Petersburg or raised in a family without connections has faced social struggles. The contrast in opportunity between urban elites and the rural poor is huge. It shapes everything: who attends top universities, who starts thriving businesses, and who ends up trying to make ends meet in low-wage jobs with few hopes of advancement. You may say that such difference exists in your country as well, and you might be right. But the difference in Russia is on another level. The average salary in Moscow can be around $800 per month, while a person in the same Siberia we talked about in the beginning of this video can be working manual labor making literally $50 per month and a pack of cigarettes every 2 days. I'm not even kidding. Unfortunately, that's a real-life example. This divide existed long before the current conflict, but the war has intensified it. In the beginning, the ranks of the Russian armed forces were disproportionately filled by men from impoverished regions, those who had the least information about what was really happening and the fewest avenues to resist government pressure. Those who have 3 channels on their TVs and all of them broadcast Russian propaganda 24/7. So obviously, for them this was the war against Nazis and drug addicts. And when you have an opportunity to make 10 times your annual salary just by leaving a signature and protect your motherland in the process, not too many thought about the consequences. Over time, these reserves of desperate recruits diminished. So now the authorities turned their gaze to another demographic: city dwellers who may be facing economic uncertainty or carrying heavy burdens of personal debt. The mobilization started slowly crawling to major urban centers like Moscow and St. Petersburg. Rather than risk open conscription, they prey upon people who, while somewhat are better financially, still see no real path upward. A lavish sign-up bonuses and, more importantly, the promise of cancelled debt up to 10 million rubles, that's approximately $100,000, appear extremely seductive. But even these strategies started to show diminishing returns. Those who wanted to trade their lives for money already did it. Increasing bonuses by additional couple $1,000s brought in significantly low number of new recruits. And so the government started facing another huge dilemma: how to bring more soldiers into the military without steering too much concern from the population. In an effort to romanticize the war, propaganda cast the Ukrainian campaign as though it was some sort of 16th century voyage of conquest, a daring expedition to unknown lands. In the early days, the rhetoric invoked enemies labeled as Banderovцы, Anglo-Saxons, failed build-up experiments berserks, and various other delusional boogeymen. Soon, however, that outdated mythology lost potency. The government of Russia misunderstood its people as complete blocks, thinking they will continue believing in these mythical creatures that invaded Ukraine and sought blood of Russian women and children. By 2024, the narrative had morphed into a kind of historical reenactment, where mercenaries sailed off like buccaneers in pursuit of fabulous fortunes. Government-produced advertisements started depicting the war as an intense but controlled adventure rather than a brutal struggle lacking any true cause. And later on, even this vision became hollow. Small print in contracts, officers and generals blackmailing soldiers for a part or even the entirety of their salaries, and the grim possibility of dying. All this brought those who did sign the contract back to earth. There is no glory in what they are doing. They wanted to make quick money and solve their financial problems, thinking they'll just sit around campfires singing songs and eating hot meals every day, occasionally shooting a bullet or two here and there when they hear leaves rustling. But in reality, they saw a drone which came out of nowhere and obliterated half of their unit of same people who arrived to Ukraine less than a week ago. No glory in that. Stories from the front line started to bypass the regime's filter and find their way to people's minds. They do not even necessarily need to reach the wannabe soldiers. Such stories need to reach at least their friends or relatives, who will then stop them from enlisting. Good news spread fast, bad ones spread even faster. If somebody was indeed able to make millions from fighting in Ukraine, people will be surprised at first, but they will quickly forget. If somebody new died fighting Putin's war, you will always have doubts and second thoughts about sacrificing your life for the similar inglorious death. The regime of Putin noticed all of this as well. Money does not attract new people. Poor regions are depleted of working-age men to critical levels. And open mobilization, especially in Moscow and St. Petersburg, is still not an option. So the new method they started practicing is literally hunting down Russian men and forcing them to enlist. Operate almost at individual level. Sure, this is a bureaucratic nightmare, but that's one of the last remaining methods how Putin can replenish his ranks. Men are being caught, blackmailed, and or deceived into signing a military contract. A contract that you can never break, that renews by itself, and that does not have an expiration date. With the only way out is inside a wooden box, located inside a truck with a dozen similar once dreamers. Well, there you have it, guys. Please subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed today's episode. Thank you so much Extra for sponsoring today's video. Please don't forget to use my links down below, and please also hurry up because the holidays are coming. Thanks so much for watching, and see you tomorrow.
We won't succumb to their tricks, the facade they try to sell. Their twisted words and feeble claims are all they cannot quell. We see through their lies, their feeble attempts to sway. We do not believe in ridiculous Russian propaganda.